Hi, welcome to this Max tutorial on creating simple interactive slideshows. What we're going to do is build some system here where we can load up full screen images based on sensor data. We're going to concentrate mostly on the process of loading these images and then resizing them to full screen in Max. This is useful for prototyping very simple interactive ideas where you might call up an image or some text onto screen as a response to some buttons or sensor data coming into your computer. We'll concentrate on just getting the images in and changing the images and making it full screen in this lesson, and then we'll look at how we can connect it to sensor input in another lesson. So first up, I'm going to create a new patcher in Max. Command is Command N. And just a reminder, let's go through some of the key kinds of things we do in Max. So this is an object and this is a message. So objects have these two grey lines on the top and the bottom, and messages are just solid grey. Messages send messages or receive messages, and these objects do special things when you give them names. So today we're going to create an object called fPic. There we are. So fPic. What does fPic do? It's a picture object, and remember we can get help on these objects by going into help there. Just a reminder, your patches need to be locked and unlocked in order for you to edit them. The command key is, the command for that is Command E to lock or Command E to unlock. So let's get some help on the fPic object. The patch is unlocked and I'm going to right click with my mouse and get the help. So here we can see some documentation about what the fPic object does. The most important things here are these message objects that are sending messages out from these message boxes and into the fPic object. Now, sending out a message, it's in two parts. The first is the kind of message that it is. In this case it's called pic. And then we're giving a file name and it loads the file from our hard drive into the pic object. So if I click there, it's house interior, there's a house from the distance, and that's blue. So we're sending those messages to load in new images. So let's see if we can replicate that in our own patch. I'm going to close that window there. Okay, so we have an image here and we want to go fPic. And we need some images to load in. So let's save our patch now. In Max, it's really important to know where your files are and to have them organized in a way that Max can find everything it needs. So if we go to our desktop, let's say I'm going to make a new project here, new folder, and call fPic sketches. That's a folder, and all our Max objects and all the other objects you need to run your project on need to be in that folder. We'll call this fPic test 01. Great. Now the next thing we need to do in terms of helping Max organize itself and know where things are is to set the file preferences under Options, File Preferences, and now we're going to add a path. So this little plus sign here, we'll go Add, and now I'm going to choose a path, and in this case we want to choose on the desktop this project we had here called fPic Sketches. We open that up, great. Now on my desktop, I go to my desktop, we can see I've got fPic Sketches. I've also got some pictures of cats and also some high-res images here of some plants. I'm going to put those folders into the fPic Sketches folder there. So in my project, when it's calling for images, it can know to look inside those folders. So back into Max here, let's look at some of these names of the image files that we could load in. These are just some silly pictures of cats I got off the internet. The image size we can see down here, they're all around 250 pixels wide. So not ideal for making full screen images, but just as a little quick test, we know that they've all got very simple intuitive file names. So this is cat01. So if I go here, fPic, I need to go space, that's the message type, and now this is the instruction, get the cat01.jpg. It's usually quite important to specify that file type with the .jpg there. And a good trick in Max is to hold down the Option key and drag off the object there. And we'll drag off another one, and another one, and another one. So now I can just click in here and go cat02, cat03, cat04, cat05. Okay, so now we can connect that message into the fPic object there. You see I click there, it's highlighted, and then the little red dot comes up there and it's ready to connect. Let's put that one in there, and this one in here, and this one here. So now remember, you can lock the patch, and if I click there, nothing's happening. Why is that? Let's backtrack a little bit. Unlock the patch. Remember, get help here. The message I've got here, I said fPic, but it's not. It's saying pic, as in find a picture with this name. So we need to edit the name of the message so it says exactly that first word, pic. That's when it's telling it what to do. Also, you could just send a read message to tell it to read a particular file. Yeah. So if I go there, and that would read the cat in there. But we want to do it automatically without having to navigate the whole file menu structure. So then we can control it with key presses or other sensor data. So the message we need is PIC space and then the photo file name. So let's correct that and take these off. PIC, 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 PIC. Okay, so now if I lock the patch, there's a cat, there's a cat, there's a cat, there's a cat, and there's a cat. That's all good, but looks like we're only seeing part of the image and not the full image. So in order to change that behavior, we have to go into what we call the inspector object in Max. So if I select the object and go I for inspector, we'll see some of the basic parameters here, and then we can go to town and see all the variables here. So let's have a look here. Let's say first thing we might want to do is use a fixed aspect ratio so our images aren't stretched, and let's say we want to scale to the box as well. So we can see now it's fitting all of the image in. So if I go into here, lock the patch and do that, now we can see our images with the cats, the whole image there. Great. So let's just look at the basic principles of interactivity first, and then we'll find out ways to make the image go full screen so we don't see all of these other things here. A really quick way of testing something, simulating some sensor data if you're working with the idea of buttons or triggers, is to simulate this with the key object in Max. So I'm going to go a new object, so N on your keyboard, and I call the object key. Key reports keyboard presses. Again, let's begin with the help file. So we can see here, this is giving me ASCII value numbers for the key presses. In this case, I'm going to be using the numbers 1 to 5 on the top of your keyboard to trigger images. So when I press the number 1 on the keyboard, it's saying the ASCII value is 49. And when I press 2, it's 50. And when I press 5, it's 53. That's great. So remember, this is coming out of the first outlet, and that's the ASCII value. Let's close that now and let's build that for ourselves. I can stretch this out a little bit, and I'm going to put a number box. So we can find numbers up the top here, and we just need a whole number. A whole number is referred to in Max as an integer, and a floating number is a floating point number. Is fractional numbers like 0.5, 1.2, 100.5, numbers with a decimal point in them. So just get an integer, because we're working with whole numbers with these ASCII values. Okay, so now if I lock my patch, and let's look at this number here. Press 1, it's 49, 2 is 50, 3 is 51, 4 is 52, 5 is 53. So if I unlock the patch now, what we want to do is say when you press number 1 and the ASCII value reads 49, then play cat number 1. So in order to do this, we use an object in Max called select. So get a new object here, and I'm going to move the object here. Let's give it a name, select. And then we're going to go select 49. Okay. And then let's put a bang underneath that there. And the clever thing with select is that you can put many different numbers in here. So if I go 49, it's really important you need to put a space. So it recognizes this as a separate new number. 49, 50, space, 51, space, 52, space, 53. Cool. So now let's stretch that out, and we will see that when I hover my mouse here, Max tells us the information that's coming out of here. So this is going to send a bang message, which is like go do stuff message, out of this outlet whenever the number matches 50. And this one here, the third outlet, 1, 2, 3, whenever it matches 51. So you can see the 51 there matches the third number in this box here. These numbers or words or whatever we put in after the word select, these are called arguments. So the object is called select, and it takes arguments. In this case, it's going to be the ASCII numbers of the keys we want to select. So let's make another button here. If I get a button, drag a button down like that. The shortcut for buttons or bangs is B. Let's put another one down here, up there, drag that down to here, connect that in there. And if we go up here, we can see B for button. The shortcut is in parentheses, in brackets there, just the character B. So if I go over here and just press B on my keyboard, I've got a button. Let's do one more. Now what's happening out of the last outlet? Anything that comes into the computer that doesn't match is going to go out of this side here. Let's just see what that does by putting a number box here. So remember, numbers, we're going to use integers. And it's showing us here the shortcut for making a number box, an integer box, is I. I can drag that down there, or I could delete that and I could just go I for integer, and now we'll put a number box there. Okay, so if I've locked my patch and I press 1, nothing's happened because it's not connected in yet. Max uses a flowchart model, and we need to connect all these little boxes with cables, patch cords we call them, so the information can flow out of that number box and into the select object. So now if I lock the patch and press 1, we can see it's 49, and 49 sends a bang out here. And if I do number 2, it should trigger 50 as an ASCII value and a bang out of here. Let's have a look. There you go. 3, 4, 5. Great, so now you've probably guessed we use these to trigger messages to load in different pictures. So I'm going out of there, the bang message, and I'm putting it into here. Let's read the message, the hint that's coming out. It says trigger the message, set changes it. So this is going to trigger the message pic cat4 JPEG. Okay, so let's test this out. Lock the patch and I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 is 54, 7 is 55, but we're not selecting any other numbers here. All we're selecting at the moment is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's changing the images. Great. Okay, so now we've got our basic interaction happening with numbers controlling images on the screen. Let's look at how we can make this more presentable. So our goal here is going to be to have these pictures appear at full screen size. So in order to do that, the first thing we want to explore is the idea that in Max we have what's called a presentation mode. Presentation mode is for building interfaces where you just show the user or people interacting with what you've built only the things they need to see. They don't need to see how we built all this and where all the information's going. They just need to see cats when we press numbers on the keyboard. So in order to do that, we select our object. See, when I've selected it, these little handles come up. It's unselected and now it's selected. We want to go to Object and add it to the presentation. So when I click that, now when I click outside of here, you can just see this pink border around the object that indicates that it's now been added to the presentation. To go into the presentation mode, I can go into View and then select Presentation there, or I can use the presentation icon down the bottom of the screen here. So if I click Presentation Mode, that's activated. We can see the green light there activating that, and everything else is gone now. I can now rechange the size of this and make it really big, like that. Now when I take it out of presentation mode, we can see it's gone back to that size there, and back in here, and back in there. So if I go like that and lock the patch, now when I press my numbers, we've got something that's looking a little bit more like what we're aiming for, but there's still all this stuff around the edges here. So we'll look at ways to hide all that and just make this one image full screen. So go out, back into patching mode, and let's see what we can do here. So we've looked at how to put the patch into presentation mode. Let's see if we can build a shortcut for that using the escape key on our keyboard. So I press the escape. The escape key on your keyboard, Macintosh keyboard, is the top left hand corner. And if I press that, we'll see the number, whoops. If I press so what we want to do is look at ways we can put our patch into presentation mode automatically without having to use the menu structure here to put it into presentation mode. Just going to make sure that again has been add that to the presentation. We can see that little pink line just around the edge there when the patch is unlocked. So I want to use the escape key on the keyboard, on the Macintosh keyboard, which is the top left-hand corner. So if I lock my patch and I press escape, the number for escape is 27. Number 27 there. So let's add another object in here called 27. Oops, 27. Great. So now if I stretch this out, that's it, and we'll put a little bang object, and that's our escape there. Okay. So in order to control our patch, so in Max and Pure Data, this is called a patch, this whole window here, and we're going to have patches inside patches. To control the behavior and the appearance of this window here, we're going to control it with settings to this patcher. So I'm going to create a new object here. Oops, that's a message. We want an object, and it's called this patcher. You notice that Max prompts you with objects. It could be anything with this, so we're going to go yes, this patcher. So let's find out how this patcher works by getting the help file. So option click, or you can just right click on your mouse to get the help file. So this sends a whole lot of messages here, and the message we're looking for is how to put the patcher into presentation mode. And the window messages, the message we want is going to be a special message that I'm going to share with you now. This is a message, or M for message. I drag that here. The typing of this needs to be very precise. So we're going to say presentation. And then I'm going to do a thing here using a $1 so we can change the value. Is it presentation 1 or presentation 0? Presentation 1 being put the patch into presentation mode. Presentation 0 would be put it into not presentation mode. So let's try this out, and I'm going to put a toggle box. I'll just show you can get the toggle boxes from here, toggle. It's just like a switch, it goes from 0 to 1. Okay, so maybe let's take the bang out of there and put that into here like this. So when I press the escape key, we can see it's going in and out of presentation mode. If I add the toggle box into here, so we can add that to the presentation, you'll see what's happening when I lock the patch. We go in and out of presentation mode. It's on, it's off, it's on, it's off. Great, let's save that. And let's see what else we can do. So the next thing we want to do is just remember when we put this into presentation mode, we can resize all this. Remember, with just that box here, let's take it out of the presentation. So I'm just right clicking on that box and let's go remove from the presentation. Now let's just size this up. Yeah, that's nice and big. Lock the patch. There we go. So it's not in presentation mode, now it's in presentation mode. And I can press the numbers and we get different images there. To get out of presentation mode, I'm going to press the S key, and that's creating the number 27. We select that number 27 and we make it go on, off in presentation mode. So we use an object here. What we want to be doing now is finding a way to resize this screen size object, entire size, check the monitor that it's on, and report on the size of that monitor. we can then use those measurements to resize our fPic
1280 by 800 pixels.
So let's get the help file and see how
can we
works.
get max to find out that information?
When I click here to report the screen size, it gives us some numbers here, which is the size of the screen. So if we open this up, we can see that it's two numbers. That's the measurement from 0 pixels to 1280 as the width, and from 0 to 80 downwards as the height. So there's two axes there. Okay. So we don't save that. What we want to do now is say whenever our patch loads, let's find out the screen size. So you could copy this document and move it onto another computer, and when you launch it, it'll check the screen size of that computer that it's on. Really handy. So when you want to do things that happen automatically in Max as soon as you load your patch up, we use an object called load bang or load mess. In here, I'm going to go load bang. Great. So as soon as the patch loads up, it's going to send a bang signal. I might actually make that just obvious here. We'll go bang there, and then that will go into here to report the screen size. Okay, and we can put a message here. Now, we're going to do something interesting with messages. We can send messages by putting bangs onto the left inlet, but we can see messages by putting the connection into the right-hand inlet. So now if I lock my patch and I press bang here, it's reported the screen size there. Very handy. So now what I want to do is, remember when this was in presentation mode, we could resize it, yeah? Let's say when you're in presentation mode, resize it to the size of the entire monitor. So to do that, we need to send a message into the fPic object. And that message is called presentation underscore rect. The presentation rectangle that we're going to draw the fPic into. That takes 4 numbers, which are those 4 corners of the object, in the same format that we have over there. But in order to put those numbers in, we need to set them as variables. So here the number $1 meant that anything that came in would then be put after that $1. We can discuss this in class with some more detailed examples later on, but for the moment let's just try typing this in. $1 space, $2 space, $3 space, $4. So it's going to take 4 numbers in and put them one after each other into that message. I'm going to put that into there, and I'm going to put the screen size into there. Okay. So that's just showing me what those numbers were there. I can delete that now. So I banged that and it's sending the message in there. Just to check what it's doing, let's put a message here, an empty message box, and put that into the right-hand inlet. Stretch that open, and when I trigger this object, the bang there, and it reports the screen size, and it's going to say presentation rectangle and then those coordinates there. And we can see those coordinates there, and that's the message that's gone into the fPic object. Cool. So now let's try putting it into presentation mode and see what we get. Nearly there. So it's resized the image, but actually the image is larger than the Max window around it. So we still need to send one more message. So let's take it out of presentation mode into patching mode. And I need to send a message to this patcher to go full screen. So when you're in full screen, it takes away all the stuff around here. So let's go into edit mode, put a message here and go full screen. And we're going to say switch it between being full screen and not full screen. So $ here, 1, and that's going to go to here. and that goes into there as well. So it'll go into presentation mode and go full screen. Save this, and now let's test it out. Escape key. There we have it. It's being controlled by number presses on our keyboard. Voila. And then when I press escape key, it takes it out of full screen, it takes it out of presentation mode. So we can see here those images were quite low resolution, and when we went into full screen mode we can see it's very pixelated. But if you make a point of creating images that are exactly at the screen size that you want to be showing your work at, then we can improve that image quality substantially. So let's have a look over here. I've prepared some image files that are exactly the size of my screen using Photoshop. I took a screenshot of my desktop, and then I used that file, basically creating a rectangle 1280 by 800 pixels, and I created new files from that. So if I copy this file name, notice it's JPG, not JPEG. So what I'm going to do is edit this now. So instead of saying cats, read that file there. Great. And we can repeat that process. So I copy all that, and we're going to change that to 2. And this is going to be having very systematic, logical file names can make it really easy to quickly edit your patches like this. There are many other ways we can speed up this process and automatically drop folders onto Objects in Max to find out the locations, but let's just do it the long way so we get a sense of the basics first. Okay, if I want to change the size of all these objects because they're a little bit too long, I can go into the inspector with those objects selected, and I can say let's change the font size to 9. Okay, so now we've got our messages there, and it's going to load in some nice high resolution images when we load the patch. Yeah. So again, it looks kind of squashed up around here, but when we tell it to go into presentation mode, it'll stretch all that out. And let's have a look here. There we go. And these could be, if you wanted, you could be making mock-ups of different screen interfaces with instructions on that screen to do different things, press in different areas, press different sensors, etc. So there you have it. We've made a slideshow that can be controlled with sensor input, in this case the numbers on our keyboard. Let's save that, and in the next lesson we'll look at what we can do with video.